Before we get started, I want to take some time to acknowledge the horrible tragedy that occurred in Uvalde, Texas. I know that this occurred while many of us were still reeling from the tragedies in Buffalo, New York, and in Orange County, just up the road. I'm still holding out for a day when kids can go to school, people can go to the grocery store, families can go to church, and we don't have to worry about if we're going to ever see them again. And I know you're probably holding out that same hope. What we want to do is take some time and make some space. We're going to take 30 seconds of silence so that you can check in with yourself and take the time to think about who you might want to check in on this weekend, who might be thinking about, feeling anxiety about, having feelings about what has occurred. So we'll take 30 seconds. Thank you for taking that time. I hope that you identified at least one person that you'll check in on this weekend. And with that, I will turn it over to Iman, who will officially kick off today's town hall. Iman?
Thank you so much for that, Terry. It's so important to just pause and reflect in that way, and especially together as a staff community. I wanted to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today and joining us for our town hall. I'm Iman Agrama Minor. I'm with Temporary Employment Services in Human Resources, and I'll be your moderator for today's town hall. Today, we have a group of panelists to provide some updates on our operations during the COVID-19 pandemic and to answer your questions. Some of the questions were submitted during registration. You can also feel free to use the Q&A window to submit additional questions for our panelists. This webinar has live closed captioning available in two ways. First, you can click on the closed caption button at the bottom of the screen and select Show Subtitles, or you can click on the link that is pasted into the chat. And now we will hear from Dr. Chip Schooley, Professor of Medicine, and Dr. Angela Scotia, Interim Executive Director of Student Health and Wellbeing, to talk about the state of the pandemic and campus health and safety.
Thanks very much, Iman, and hello, everybody, in anticipation of Memorial Day weekend. What I'd like to do to start the session off today is just put into perspective where the pandemic has been going and where we expect it to be going over the course of the summer, to help you plan activities both here on campus and with your families and others. As you can see in this graphic, on the blue line, the pandemic in the U.S. has clearly ticked up since the last time we had a Return to Learn staff town hall. At the end of April and early May, we were beginning to see things tick up, and you can see now that previous uncertainty about where things are going, it's very clear now that the U.S. is on an uptick, very much like Europe was about 4 months ago. We've now passed the threshold of 1 million deaths in the U.S., another somber thing to remember than to think about, which is also quite concerning. Next slide. What we're seeing in the U.S. is a gradual shift of this new wave of cases from the Northeast, where things began a bit earlier in April, to the West, very much like what's happened in prior waves as variants have arrived from Europe. And you can see now that at one point in time, the Northeast was several times higher than the West. Now the West is catching up in terms of numbers of cases, and as I'll show you in a minute, San Diego County in particular is seeing more viral activity. Next slide. Now, one of the things that distinguishes this wave of cases from the prior wave of cases is that while we're seeing a large number of people who are becoming infected, most of whom are symptomatic, we think, we're seeing a relatively smaller number of people who are ending up in the hospital, and an even smaller number who are ending up in the ICU. We think this is a combination of strains of virus that may be slightly less pathogenic, less likely to cause disease than prior strains, but more importantly, a reflection of increasing amounts of vaccine coverage in the population and vaccine immunity that has been protecting people in particular against severe disease, although it doesn't protect as well against infection per se. Infection per se has decreased some, but not as much as severe disease and death. So we're seeing a lot of cases, but thankfully, relative to the number of cases, fewer people in the hospital than we did in the Alpha and Delta waves. Next slide. To get to the San Diego situation, if you look on the left, you can see that at the beginning of the month, most of the US was green in terms of having the lowest back-county risk rate as gauged by the CDC's new metrics, which take into account county morbidity, county case rate, and a number of other things that take into account the stresses on the county healthcare system and other issues. But you can see that as of last night, San Diego County in yellow has now switched to the moderate degrees of risk county category, and what had previously been a relatively small area of moderate and high risk in the Northeast is continuing to spread and worsen. And we expect this trend to continue over the course of the next month at least. Next slide. In San Diego County, you can see that the number of cases earlier this week was about 1,000. We're running now between 800 and 1,500 cases a day. We were down to as few as 200 or 300 cases a day at the beginning of April. So again, a new wave is coming. The hospitalizations on the right of upper panel here are not increasing as quickly as the case rate, which reflects what I've already said about the severity of this particular variant. In the lower left panel, what you can see is that in the blue line, a gradually increasing amount of viral RNA in the wastewater at Point Loma. This is a very good way to measure the overall viral activity in the county because it doesn't rely on testing, it just relies on measuring the amount of virus that's shed by people who are infected. And the amount of virus in the wastewater now is higher than it was at the peak of the Delta outbreak, to give you an idea about the level of viral activity in the community. In the lower right panel is in dark blue a demonstration that virtually all of the virus that's currently circulating in San Diego County is of this Omicron variant called BA.2.12.1, which is the more transmissible version of the Omicron variant that began to circulate in Europe early in the spring and late winter. We have begun to see variant of BA.4 in San Diego County, and we expect that, as in other places, it will replace BA.2.1.21. And this, again, is a manifestation of increasingly transmissible viruses and ones that are less susceptible to the immunity that we have in the population from vaccines and experience with prior infections. These newer variants fare better than ones that are more like the variants that have been circulating. Next slide. These are some projections from Natasha Martin, who has put together in the left panel a compendium of models projecting where the epidemic will go in the US over the course of the next month. And you can see that that the consensus among all the modelers is that we're going to see an increasing number of cases moving forward. The panel on the right is the same type of data that have been put together for California, again reflecting an expectation that we're going to be seeing more cases. Next slide. So why is that? It's really, I think, due to three things. First of all, we're getting farther away from our initial vaccinations, and we still have a large number of people who are eligible for boosters who haven't been boosted. So as with other experiences with coronaviruses, over time, our level of immunity declines. It makes us more susceptible to reinfection. We're also seeing variants evolve that are more that differ more from the variants that have been circulating, and therefore are less susceptible to immunity in the population and can grow and overtake the immunity that we have. And finally, we've seen a major decrease in masking among all of us, and that is giving the virus opportunities to spread. And for these reasons, I think it's very likely that we're going to continue to see an increasing number of cases over the course of the summer. Next. So how do we live safely during the COVID 2.0 era? I think we're moving into a period of time where it's going to be less having employers and government telling us what to do than having us have to pay attention to what the current viral activity is around us and to try to take some responsibility for ourselves. Because in the case of UC San Diego, for example, most of the transmissions that are affecting our employees are not happening at work, they're happening out in the community. And so while we can say everybody must wear a mask everywhere they go on campus, the real place where things are happening is out in the community. So we need everyone to look at what's around them and to think about how they can decrease their own risks. Right now, the risk of infection in San Diego County is called moderate. Now, moderate means no longer low, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. So what can you do? You can assess your own risk and those with whom you interact. Are you someone who is quite likely to become ill if you become infected because of your underlying immune status or your age? Do you have somebody at home that you'd really worry about bringing the virus back home to? And as I mentioned before, we are doing better clinically, medically with this new variant, but it's still highly disruptive. If you're working in a unit that has a number of people who have to be here to do certain things like housing and dining or running the intensive care unit, if everybody in your unit is out, it puts stresses on our ability to provide services that we need to provide. We have a couple hundred students who are now in isolation, and now we're worried about how we're going to get them from isolation to home at the end of the quarter. So although getting infected is less life-threatening, it is certainly threatening to our ability to function as an institution, and all of us need to try to work to try to reduce the impact on what we can do as a functioning institution. It's important to remain current with your vaccination. Dr. Socia will talk a bit more about this in a minute. And then don't hesitate to mask when you're in locations of higher risk. I don't wear a mask everywhere I go. I'm going to go see Top Gun tonight, but I'm going to have a mask on in that movie. I may not be the only one there. I will likely not be the only one there masked, but I suspect most people will not be wearing masks. But I think it's a very reasonable thing to do. I don't want to be a monk, but I also want to take advantage of things that I know work in situations where risk is higher. For those of you who are traveling over Memorial Day weekend, you don't have to mask on planes anymore, but it makes sense to do that when you're around another 150 people for 4 hours in a tube, and even more so when you're in the terminal with thousands of people where the ventilation is not as good as is on the plane. So again, just a plea to take into account where we are, take control of your own COVID risk, and help us all remain safe so we can operate efficiently over the course of the summer. Let me turn this over now to Dr. Socia, who will talk a bit about what's going on campus and some of the other issues related to operational activities.
Thanks, Chip. And what we're seeing is that increased activity of this virus in San Diego is translating into our populations as well. On the left, you'll see the student numbers. This graph that's like number 3 down, you can see that rise that's been steady. And you can see the percent of individuals that are testing each day are higher, the higher positivity rate. You know, a month ago, we were down in 1, 2, 3%. Now we're regularly seeing 5, 6, and 7. We see it in the health science employees and the campus employees. So our entire community is feeling the impact of this increase in viral activity. Next slide. And you can hear some of the daily testing. We still have great access to testing. Please take advantage of that. We're testing thousands of individuals every day and identifying both students on and off campus as well as campus employees who are positive, and then providing them with the support that they need. For many, that does mean they're going to be out of class for a while or out of work for a while, which can be challenging, and some of them are feeling pretty punky. And it's taken a while for them to get back to their normal energy level. So Luckily, people, as Chip has said, are not ending up in the hospital or the ICUs as much. Some are, but most aren't. But everybody with the virus is feeling, they're feeling the impact. There may be some asymptomatic shedding, but a lot of mild to moderate symptoms are occurring in the individuals that are getting these infections. Next slide. So let's talk about boosting and vaccination, how important it is. We've said this reduces your chance of getting an infection to some degree, but significantly reduces the chance that you'll have severe infections. To be fully vaccinated, you need to have had your primary series and then you become booster eligible. So who's booster eligible? Everybody was becoming booster eligible for one boost, but then a smaller group are eligible for a second booster. That right now is recommended for individuals that are over the age of 50 or immunocompromised. That is a second booster dose, and you become eligible 4 months after your first booster dose. For folks in the space between primary vaccination and first booster, it's actually 5 months. I know it's tricky that these windows are changing a little bit, but part of it is we learn more about how long the immunity is carrying through. And we also have to deal with the confounder of the virus is changing around us. So the benefits of these booster doses is changing a little bit in relationship to the currently circulating virus. If you've not completed your initial primary series, you're not fully vaccinated. If you've had no doses, you're not fully vaccinated. And then once you cross the eligibility line, you're no longer fully vaccinated. So keep in mind, you sort of have to know where you are personally. When you become eligible for a booster, take advantage of it. We're offering at the Price Center, multiple health system sites. It's at no cost. So please take advantage of the benefits of vaccination and boosting. Next slide. So the mandate, because remember, as employees of UC California, we are under a mandate. What boosting came under the mandate? Primary vaccination and first dosing is required under the mandate. Currently, second doses, again, the second doses for those over 50 or immunocompromised is not required under the mandate. We don't know if eventually a second dose will come under the mandate or not, but currently we operate on, if you have had your primary series and you're not eligible, you're fully in compliance. If you've had your primary series and it's been over 5 months, you've not gotten a booster, you're now out of compliance. If you've gotten that first booster, you're in compliance. So it's very important, once you hit your eligibility, that you take advantage of at least a first dose. And again, for the other folks, a second dose for some. You have a little bit of time under the mandate from your moment of eligibility to come into compliance. For healthcare workers, that's 15 days. For employees and students, it is 30 days. If you've had a recent COVID infection, just should be aware that we have extended your eligibility by a time frame, because generally we'll say, wait a while after an infection, once you become eligible, to extend that out a little bit, up to 90 days. We generally recommend folks are going in after about 60 days. If you have an exemption already under the mandate for primary vaccination, it also covers you for boosters. Next slide. So what are our testing requirements? We still require that if you're unvaccinated and not fully vaccinated, you need to test twice a week if you're coming to campus for any reason. Who else should test? All of us, regardless of our vaccination status, if we develop symptoms. Okay. If you've recently had a COVID infection, you don't need to test unless you start to get new symptoms. We are finding with these new variants that there are some reinfections. They may be a little sooner than with the first version of this virus. And so we're recommending that if you've recovered from a COVID infection and you now have new symptoms, you should test. Otherwise, we don't routinely do any surveillance testing for 90 days after a recent infection. If you've been exposed to someone with COVID-19, someone in your household, a coworker that you were spending time with and you were unmasked with each other, then you should test as soon as you become aware of that exposure, and then on day 5. And that's regardless of your vaccination. As soon as you know of an exposure, start to wear a mask, because you may start to shed and you want to protect other individuals around you. So until you've cleared that period and you've had the negative test on day 5, you have to assume you might be infecting someone else. This is where the personal responsibility of caring for yourself, trying to reduce the risk that you get an infection. But then if you might have been infected, that you reduce the risk that you give this to someone else. So we're all going to have to be paying attention to these issues. Wastewater, if it's in a building that you work or live in, regardless of your vaccination status, please get tested. We do have a lot of students that are isolating in place now, and I'll explain that in a little bit ahead, which is showing a lot more viral activity in the residential spaces on campus. We think some of that is related to those that are isolating in place, but some of it may also be some new infections. So if you have any question, please test. The vending machines are fully operational. Remember that you need a campus ID. You need to capture the barcode on the vial for your sample to be connected to you. That's really important. If we don't capture the barcode, we don't know who the sample belongs to. Drop-offs, if you get it in by 2, you generally are going to get results that night, sometimes the next day, and it'll be released in your MyChart. So you'll have access to your results very quickly. It's actually great that way. Please don't use your test for someone else. That's medical fraud, and it's really confusing. We will probably modify some of the operations in the summer a little bit. So keep an eye to make sure that the vending site that you normally go to is going to be operational in the summer. Some of those in residential areas will be temporarily shut down because we won't have as many students living on campus. We're also looking in to make sure on if we'll have it every day of the week. We're hoping to do that, but 4th of July weekend, probably we'll have a little bit of a break on Sunday and Monday, so we won't have pickups those days. But we're going to try and keep the infrastructure to make easy access to free testing for all of our students and employees throughout the summer. Next slide. Masking. It is highly effective. I think you all have to assume our masks are our friends. Have one with you at all times. There's no downside. You never know when you might want to put it on. So really make sure you have a good supply, you're carrying them with you. There are a few places that they are required on campus now. So they're required in our classrooms, in the clinical space of student health CAPS, and in the vaccination and testing center and Price Center, which will stay open through the summer, as well as on our campus transportation. So even though you may not have to wear that mask when you're flying United, if you're using our campus bus, we want you to wear that mask. I think take advantage of the masks that are available to you at the Price Center and the Trove. These are KN95s and N95s. The tighter fitting masks are much more effective. Please don't rely on a simple surgical mask with gaps. You can use a surgical mask with a cloth covering. That's an alternative to the KN95 and the N95. But really, N95s and KN95s are readily available, and that's the simplest and best mask to have in place. We're encouraging you to think about using masks when you're indoors, when you're around a large number of, significant number of individuals. Also outdoors in crowded settings, especially if there's prolonged contact. You're in lines with folks. It's close. It's a large number of individuals. Take advantage of a mask. It's one of the best ways to protect yourself from acquiring this infection. So please consider masking when in doubt. I'd say mask. Next slide. Isolation, California public health requirements. It's a 10-day period of isolation unless you meet some very specific period requirements. You can't have a fever. So you're not taking Tylenol to bring your fever down. You don't have a fever. And your symptoms are either gone or significantly resolving. You're getting better. And you have a negative rapid antigen test after day 5. Then you can start moving out of that room of isolation and moving about your home, your community. You can even come to the classroom. But for employment, that rapid antigen test has to be observed by a provider. It can't be self-administered for you to be able to come back to work. And so arrangements for those administered or observed tests can be done through COEM. So for work purposes, someone has to see that rapid antigen test, make sure it's appropriately done, But for other activities, the rapid antigen test can be used for self-administered. So many of our students are using this, which allows them to return to the classroom effectively after 5 days, but they must mask for the full 10-day period. This is a very important part about this. Another thing I want to mention about the rapid antigen tests, they're very, very effective when they're positive. It's a positive result. They're rarely falsely positive. But in the early parts of infections, they can be negative. This is a difference with the PCR tests. In the early part of infection, the PCR, the vending machine tests are very accurate. But the early parts of infections, the rapid tests may miss it. So if you're symptomatic, you do a rapid test at home, you probably want to repeat that after a couple of days if your symptoms are persisting. And you probably ought to mask until you are certain that you're not in an infectious period, because you do want to protect the people you care about and spend time with. After you have an infection established, the rapid antigen test is very good. And that's why it's the good test for this returning to work and returning to other activities after an infection. So just some tips about using the rapid antigen test. They're readily available and they are quite useful because when they're positive, you can assume you are infected. And in fact, when our students do these tests and tell us they're infected, we put them in isolation. Next slide. I just want to mention quarantine if you've been exposed. Okay, if you're a fully vaccinated, up to date in your vaccination, you can still move around, but you need to mask and you should test when you find out about it and after day 5. If you are unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated, you do need to stay at home for a 10-day period. We want you to test though, initially on day 5. Then you can also start to move around a little bit more after day 5 test being negative and no symptoms, but you still, again, need to mask for the 10-day period. So some extra tips about how to manage yourself if you should become infected with these viruses. I think we're all going to have to learn how to protect ourselves and also manage an infection for ourselves or other members of our household. These will be the things that each of us has to build into our daily approach to life. Next slide. I think that the symptom screener is still working. Again, we've integrated symptoms, exposure, vaccination. Please know that now with as much virus floating around, if you are exposed, you won't get a call back from COAM, but you'll follow the guidance. The guidance is on the RTL site as well. Positive results for employees and students. We are reaching out to individuals who have positive results. For the students that are residential, we want to make sure they're okay. And we do have some, they're isolating on place, just so folks know about that. These are students that are living in singles. They don't have a roommate, or if they have a roommate, the roommate has recently had COVID. So we're letting those students stay on campus because the isolation housing in the hotels has become more limited. But what they do is they're staying in their rooms. They're only going out fully masked to get their meals. And it's been working very well for us. So I just wanted to share that because it's a little change in practice than we had earlier in the virus. And I think that is the last of my slides, and I'll be trying to answer your questions and available at the end as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Schooley and Dr. Sosha. Next, we will hear about human resources updates from Terry Winbush, our Senior Director of HR Strategy and Policy, and William Dibble Youngblood, one of our counselors in the Faculty and Staff Assistance Program.
Thank you, Iman, and hello again, everyone. So I have a few updates. I'm going to go relatively quickly because you should have seen many of these things via campus notice. So the salary increase for policy covered staff was announced contingent upon the allocation in the state budget. That's a 4.5% general increase, subject to eligibility requirements, which will be going out to HR contacts and fiscal contacts in the near term. Among those eligibility requirements is at least a solid, satisfactory, or effective on your appraisal. So hopefully everyone has been keeping up with their performance and then they would meet that eligibility requirement. For those of you who are represented by a collective bargaining agreement represented by a union, Your pay increases have been negotiated or being negotiated with your union and are documented in your collective bargaining agreement in either the wages or compensation article. Look for something that looks like money, and that's where it will be documented. The UC vaccine mandate, as Angela noted, it's still a mandate. We are focusing on trying to gain compliance and not discipline, but we will take whatever steps are necessary in order to ensure that we do get compliance. Yes, it's still a requirement. As Angela noted, the fourth booster dose is not yet a requirement of the mandate, but this is something that we do expect in the future. But the key is to engage in the process and take care of yourself. And like Chip said, be mindful of your own health and safety. So wear those masks in those places that make sense, even if you're not required, because that's the best way to take care of yourself and others. Next slide. It is still performance appraisal season. Your supervisors are working madly behind the scenes to try and get all of the performance appraisals done on time by the timeline set by their department HR contacts. I just want to stress the importance of everyone staying in compliance with their mandatory and assigned trainings. This is a part of your performance, so you must engage in doing your mandatory and assigned trainings. I know they take a lot of time, but they are important. The other thing about these trainings is there's usually an underlying reason why someone had to create a mandatory training. So the reason we want you to do those trainings is so that you can actually be educated on those underlying reasons and not engage in those actions that prompted a need to create a mandatory training. So if you are not doing your mandatory trainings, your supervisor should be taking that into account when evaluating your overall performance, and that could impact ultimately your ability to participate in the salary program. So please take care of your mandatory and assigned trainings. Next slide. As I always do, I want to remind you all to show yourselves grace. As I said at the top of the town hall, we have been faced with yet another horrific tragedy, and these kinds of things happen all too frequently. I know the number is like something just short of 200 on mass shootings across the country. So please know you get to have feelings and to be impacted. Don't judge yourself. Show yourself grace. A lot of people are like, why am I crying? Why am I impacted? Why am I feeling anxiety? Because you're a human and you get to have feelings. Check in on people you know, hug your loved ones tighter. I know I definitely hugged my kids tighter that night. They were wondering what was going on with mommy. If you see a change in a friend or a colleague or someone, check in. If you feel an energy shift, and you know what I mean, check in. Don't take the people that you care about and that you work with, do not take those people and the ability to apologize for granted, because you just never know what can happen on the next day and what a little apology will do to go a long way. Leaders, please be open with your feelings. This makes space for others to feel safe and to feel themselves. And then also everyone needs to understand that everyone does not process nor react the same to these kinds of things. Some people feel immediately called to action, and that's good. Some people feel the need to retreat and come away from their devices and shut all notifications off and not to check the news and not to check their Instagram and not to check social media at all. And that's okay too. Whatever makes sense for you and your own mental health and well-being is the step that you should take when faced with these horrific tragedies, daily difficulties, etc. But please take care of yourself. Show others grace. Don't assume that everyone will react the same as you, and pay attention to those energy shifts. Next slide. And now I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, William Youngblood from FSAP, to share all of the exciting information that FSAP has to offer. William?
Great, thank you, Terry, and thank you for that exceptional leadership and reminding everyone the importance of taking care of ourselves during this time. And certainly it's been a difficult time in recent years for all of us, and many of us are feeling the impacts of tragic events in the last month. And I certainly want to take a time to acknowledge the impact that it has on you and your family, as we at Faculty Staff Assistance Program have been there with many of you through this time. And certainly not to minimize that in any way, I hope that you can all bear with me as we take a moment to celebrate our FSAP team for a moment, because through the feedback over the years, the yearly customer satisfaction survey, we've actively worked to address the needs on campus. And this is something that has been important to us as we've taken your feedback and really tried to address that. And we're really happy to present our new FSAP team representing a diversity of backgrounds as well as more focused specialties than ever before. And we're so grateful to Chancellor Khosla and CFO Pierre Ouellet for supporting this expansion and believing in the importance of specialized behavioral health in the employee assistance model. And we're very proud that they have taken time to acknowledge the benefit that our program offers staff and faculty on campus. So with their help, we're able to expand our support into the UC San Diego community during this time of increased need. And I'd like to share that with you a little bit. So next slide. So as I said, we take the customer satisfaction survey very seriously. And with your input, we've been able to build a world-class employee assistant service here and to serve the employees in every sector of the campus year after year. But with that, I'd like to share a little more about the licensed professionals on staff and the areas of focus that they've chosen for the coming year to give you a little understanding of what we have planned for this coming year. Next slide. Our first new hire is a very exciting announcement, and Dr. Kat Thompson. She has years of UCSD experience and even more experience as a licensed mental health professional, including serving military families, extending her professional expertise in national policymaking chapters of American Psychological Association. Her focus for campus employees this year will be BIPOC mental health, multiracial identity development, anti-racism and EDI perspectives, and professional women of color. And we're very excited about what she has to offer our staff and faculty this coming year, and very fortunate to have her join us from years of service with CAPS. Next slide. Our next new hire is Dr. Christina Lambert, and we're so fortunate to have Dr. Lambert join our team as she brings a wealth of experience as well as specific knowledge in an under-recognized and underserved population. Dr. Lambert will be helping us understand more about the lived experience of the neurodivergent colleagues here on campus, as well as support the workplace needs and bring many resources to the family and loved ones of those who identify in this group. Dr. Lambert will also be bringing new support around consultation for managers and co-workers of neurodivergent employees, the imposter phenomenon and self-compassion, and management of illnesses and chronic pain. Next slide. Our third new hire was an opportunity to bring back a valued member of our team, Jennifer Triana. She's back with us after a brief time away to gain more awareness of the San Diego community at large. And Jennifer is setting her sights on building stronger, more visible community support for our Spanish-speaking colleagues on campus, and also to bring more Latinx, Chicanx awareness to FSAP services. She also plans to build resources and networking in the community to help us better serve staff and faculty on campus. And she'll be working with Dr. Kat Thompson to support professional women of color. She's here today as well to answer any questions on the question and answer panel. Next slide. A veteran of our team, Isabel Caetano Franci, will continue to offer great services to our parents on campus. She brings a specialization in certified perinatal mental health and offers some valuable expertise to new parents. She offers a focus on mindfulness and compassion and connects with our international postdocs and others on campus in the international community. Isabel also speaks Portuguese fluently. Next slide. And then, of course, we have Dr. Brian McNutt, who adds some valuable expertise to our team. He's a valuable resource to the LGBTQ+ faculty and staff. He's also a leader in the employee assistance field and is the president of the San Diego chapter of the Employee Assistance Professionals Association. He has been active in providing individual and organizational crisis support on campus, and he's developed a great monthly mindfulness meditation skill building group he's currently helping develop an exciting new development in terms of creating an EAP training program that we hope to develop new leaders in the field through two additional intern positions adding to our program. And next slide. And for myself, with experience working with children and adolescents and families in the community agencies and private practice, I enjoy supporting UC San Diego couples and families. I also have advanced training in treating anxiety and brief psychotherapy, as well as clinical hypnosis. And for those interested in overall well-being, I hope you'll join our monthly Triton Flourish group for the opportunity to connect with others who are invested in personal and professional well-being. This group was formed through a collaboration with the impressive work of Tiffany Weinberg's at CAPS and the Students Triton Flourish program. Then our final provider on our team is our fearless leader, Crystal Green, who has guided our program throughout this time. She offers a valuable monthly caregiver support group for those caring for loved ones. And with her years of experience on campus, she also provides leadership consultations across campus as well as organizational support. This year, we will be continuing to bring she'll be continuing to bring our connection with UC San Diego retirees in our program as well. And then the person that holds it all together, Carol Yoza, with over 40 years of UC experience, is one of the reasons we have been top rated in customer service. As she connects with staff and faculty to meet our requests and manages our busy schedules. She offers a great campus knowledge and helps connect with resources and manages our Blink content. So with that, FSAP is currently and continues to offer a majority of our services via telehealth, but we will also provide the same great services virtually and in person as safety permits. And finally, for more information, you can go to our Blink page, and I hope that you will take time to explore our services and what we have to offer. And I wish you all a wonderful, healthy, and happy weekend coming up this 3-day holiday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry and William. I'd now like to introduce 3 people from our staff association to share exciting opportunities and updates. First, we'll have Tammy T. Blevins, our Special Projects and Campus Collaborations Chair. We'll have Kelvin Wang, Social and Networking Chair, and then Sarah Andrade from the Marketing and Communications Committee.
Thank you so much, Iman. And for anyone who may not know me, I am also your Associate Director for Faculty and Staff Giving on campus. Now, in my role as the Staff Association Elections Chair, I coordinate our annual elections process, for which nominations for our open board positions just closed on Wednesday. I am currently in the process of creating the ballot, and voting will begin next Wednesday, June 1st, and it's going to close on June 8th. So please keep your eyes open on your emails and look for your ballot to vote. Your vote is your voice. I would also like to thank everyone who submitted a nomination and those who have expressed interest in serving on the board. So the incoming board will be announced the week of June 13th. And additionally, I want you all to know we sent out a ballot just this past Monday asking you to vote on our bylaws revision. So if you haven't already done so, cast your vote for our bylaws revision. The polling is going to close on Tuesday for that. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. And again, we say thank you. Thank you for being a part of the process, and thank you for supporting your staff association. And now I will turn the mic over to my friend and colleague, Kelvin Wong.
Thank you, Tammy. I am the staff associate, basically social networking chair. So I want to let you know some upcoming events to say thank you for amazing work you've done on campus. So our first upcoming event is June 16th. We're hosting a Triton Treats. This time is the Ice Cream Sundae Bar. This will be first come, first serve, and while supplies last. Later that month, to celebrate National Bring Your Dog to Work Day, we will have Bring Your Pet to Zoom Day. This will be on June 24th from 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. Remember, this is a Zoom event, so please don't bring your dogs to work or to in person. Next slide, please. The following month, we have the Triton Trivia hosted by the great Amanda Chavez on July 20th, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. via Zoom. Last but not least, the staff summer celebration will be held on August 19th from 11:30 to 1:30 on campus. There will be more information to come, so please visit our website at staffassociation.ucsd.edu for more details for this event and others. Thank you, and I hope to see you there. And next up, we got updates from Sarah for shines and shout outs.
All right, thank you, Kelvin. So my name is Sarah. I'm with the Staff Association Marketing and Communications Committee. So the Staff Association aims to unlock the authentic narratives of our dynamic staff. So we've been inviting people to submit a shout out to colleagues that they think are doing a great job here on campus. So today it is my pleasure to give a quick and hearty shout out to some of our wonderful staff here. So first up, we have a shout out to Sarab Aziz. Sarab is an events coordinator for the Department of History. Sarab is recognized for her positivity and dedication to improving staff work-life balance and creating community among the staff population here on campus. And we also have Dennis Brand and Jose Hernandez from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Dennis is a facilities manager and Jose is a facilities management specialist. Dennis and Jose are recognized for going above and beyond to ensure staff, faculty, and students at the SIO feel safe, comfortable, and efficient in their workspaces. This kind of work often goes unnoticed, but we want to celebrate them now. So thank you so much to Dennis and Jose. And then next slide, we also want to give a quick shout out to Cynthia F. Shelley. Cynthia is from the health side. So she's a medical education evaluation analyst with the UCSD School of Medicine. And Cynthia is recognized for her wealth of knowledge regarding medical education management and her contributions to training the new generations of medical professionals. So thank you to our staff, and thank you to people who are submitting these shines and shout outs to celebrate their colleagues. So if you yourself are interested in shining the light on a colleague or shining the light on yourself and the great work you do, you can go ahead and submit a form through our website, staffassociation.ucsd.edu. And finally, to see more of these shines and shout outs, follow us on Instagram. Our handle is at UCSD staff. It's on the screen here, or use the QR code and that'll take you to our UCSD Instagram account. And I'll pass it back to Iman.
All right, thank you, Tammy, Calvin, and Sarah. Now I'd like to introduce Davida Johnson and Tony Singleton, Chair and Co-Chair of the Black Staff Association.
Thank you so much, Iman. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Davida Johnson, and I currently serve as the chair for the Black Staff Association, also known as BSA. In my formal role, I'm the Interim Director and Human Resources Manager for Business and Financial Services. My co-chair, Anthony Singleton, will join us later in today's presentation. Next slide, please. We currently have 11 amazing leaders on our 2021-22 Executive Board who represent the broad interests of our constituency and support our organizational goals with Triton pride. Next slide, please. So why do we exist? I'm so glad you asked. The UC San Diego Black Staff Association serves as advocates for progress through the promotion of critical dialogue, upward mobility, networking, and programs that elevate the rich Black culture of our ancestors. Our organization places particular emphasis on equity, diversity, and inclusion goals with evidence-based recommendations to university leadership that voice and advance issues affecting the Black staff experience. These efforts also include partnership and support of the Black student experience. However, our chief purpose is to promote unity for Black staff and enhance cultural understanding across UC San Diego. We believe the strength and the well-being of our constituency creates capacity for strategic engagement and thought leadership within our institution and the greater San Diego community. We invite you to explore membership and share your ideas on how we can achieve these goals as a unified voice through programming and other engagement opportunities. With us, you are seen, heard, and supported. And at every opportunity, we uplift and celebrate Black excellence. Now over to you, Tony. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Davida. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Singleton, and I serve as the co-chair of the Black Staff Association. In my former role, I am the Chief Small Business Officer for UC San Diego. The Black Staff Association provides programming that opens the door to critical dialogue and helps promote and enhance a sense of belonging, professional development, and the cultural identity of Black staff. Some of our recent programs include, but are not limited to, Addressing Racism, Anti-Blackness, a President's Day Forum, creating a safe space for healing, providing a solidarity circle of support, and a panel discussion for the confirmation of the first African-American woman as United States Supreme Court Justice, the Honorable Ketanji Brown Jackson. We are a strong and progressive organization that addresses policy issues and concerns unique to the staff and promotes the full inclusion of the Black experience at UC San Diego. Next slide, please. I would like to share with you a little about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is officially observed on June 19th and commemorates the end of slavery in 1865. It took 156 long years to declare Juneteenth a federal holiday in 2021. So we applaud President Drake for immediately observing Juneteenth as a UC holiday within the same year. With that being said, we extend an invitation for you to join us at our second annual Juneteenth celebration. During this event, we will explore what the Juneteenth holiday means for Americans and celebrate Black excellence. This year's theme will focus on education, signature dishes, and the historical relevance of soulful music. So with that, we look forward to seeing you on June 16th at 2:30 p.m. And again, we thank you for your time. Back to you, Iman.
Thank you, Davida and Tony, and I'm really looking forward to attending the Juneteenth event that you shared. Now it's our question and answer time, and I invite all of the panelists to turn their videos on at this time. We've selected some of our most popular questions from the registration question and answer, and our panelists will be answering those. If you do have a question now, please use the question and answer window to submit additional questions during the session, and we really hope to have time to address some of them. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm on the wrong window. Okay, the first question is for you, Angela and Chip. What will determine whether masks will be required again on campus more generally?
I think we're going to have to see a very significant increase before we make it a mandatory everywhere. That being said, hopefully everyone has heard the message from Chip, and particularly about the viral activity and comments that I've made, that please take advantage of masking. Have a low threshold. If you're in a meeting with a large, 5, 6, 7, 10 people, put a mask on. To drop it quickly to take a sip of water, or whatever, but take advantage of masking when you're around others that you don't routinely see all the time. It doesn't make sense to mask in our homes. We have our students actually masking in the residential space because we particularly want to bring down the spread of virus and have them finish the rest of this quarter. So we're putting an extra precaution there. So when in doubt, put those masks on. Again, I'm going to reiterate the required spaces on our transportation, in the Price Center Testing Center. If you're coming to CAPS or Student Health, we'll be masking. In our clinical spaces, we think there may be more virus coming in from the people we care for, therefore we mask. And also in our classrooms, masking will continue. For now, just please think about a mask on a regular basis, but probably for the next few weeks, we don't anticipate going to required masking for everybody at all times indoors. Chip, I don't know if you want to add anything more to that.
No, well said. I think it's really, we're in a situation right now where we're going to rely on people to use their sense, both here and off campus.
All right, thank you, both of you. The next question is for you, Terry. What's the updated policy on remote work?
So I think what is meant by that question that was submitted is what is the flexible work arrangements policy that we have published, and I'll make sure to put that in the chat. I also get that question often when someone is really asking, what are the rules for their particular department or their particular VC area? And they need to have a conversation with their local leadership about what those rules are and what the operational needs are. The one thing I want to add to that is for you leaders, managers, and supervisors who are stating operational needs as the basis for people to come on site, make sure that you're following up on those words. So if you say the operational needs are because we have a certain number of individuals come in for appointments on certain days, make sure those appointments are actually happening. If you're saying it's because you want to foster culture, collaboration, connection, remember that as we always share in a lot of the trainings that we provide, structures build dynamics. So create structures where people can engage in culture, connection, and collaboration. Actually create moments of opportunity for people to do those things so they believe you when you say that's the reason you have them coming on site. And we really do want that. So please do it. So I hope that answers the question, and I will now put the links in the chat because I know I have them handy somewhere. Thank you, Iman.
Thanks, Terry. Another one for you, Angela. Just want to confirm, since a few people have asked, when should we receive a second booster shot? And are they available through UCSD?
Yes, they're available. Okay, and who should receive them? So you have to have had your first booster dose. Let's remember that. Eligibility occurs after 4 months, so a little shorter than that first one, which is 5 months. So 4 months after your first, and you have to fall into one of two categories: over the age of 50 or immunocompromised. So having a medical condition that creates more vulnerability. That's where we are right now. Be prepared for this to change. It's very likely over the next few months, we're going to see more folks fall into a category of being appropriate for a second booster. But that's where we are right now. And it very easy access. You can get them at the health system sites as well as the Price Center. Just go into my chart and book an appointment. There's plenty of availability. And please, if you haven't gotten your first booster, please get it. We know that only about 85% of the eligible people have gotten that. So there are about 1 in 7 folks on this call maybe who haven't gotten that first booster. Please do it. Please take care of yourself.
All right. Last question for the day is actually for Terry. We want to say congratulations on your appointment as the campus CHRO. So exciting. What are you most looking forward to?
Thank you for that question, Iman. I would say the thing that I'm most looking forward to is to continue to be a voice for the staff, to have a strong focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion in everything that we do on a daily basis because of how it impacts everyone's daily lives. I'm very excited to be someone who can help move the needle. And I really love the partnerships that I already have and will continue to develop to make this a really awesome place to work and come to school. So thank you for asking me that. I'm really excited. I appreciate all the congratulatory emails, everybody. I promise I will respond to all the hundreds of them individually. I just have to stretch my fingers sometimes. So thank you very much. And thank you for asking me that, Yvonne. It's been incredible. I appreciate y'all so much.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for all of your questions and remind you that we will do our best to answer everyone's questions by updating the FAQ section that will soon be on our website. And we will be posting a recording of this town hall as well. So if you missed any of it or you have colleagues that missed it, they can catch it. We do encourage you to complete the post-event survey that you will receive shortly via email. And then please stay tuned for the next staff town hall. It'll be scheduled for early July. We don't have the date yet. And finally, I'd like to thank all of our presenters and guests for sharing their time and valuable information with us today. I would like to thank you, the staff of UC San Diego, for attending this town hall and working together as a collective campus community. Please enjoy some rest and reflection time during this holiday weekend. Bye.